in the matrix and my brain's up for the taking, but we don't do that. I know my facts. They say that he was elected, but where the stats at? They say that jab the only way to get your life back, but if you have a heart attack, then they will go to hide that. Look at the FDA acting like KKK, trying to run all our lives like we they brand new slaves. Lose the job, bent from plain segregation, all the same. They call themselves progressives, but they taking us all back again. Bring the world to darkness and sacrifice the children. Then when it's said and done, then you will never live with hope again. I say that we break the chains, we can't leave the world the same. Make love real again. As we fly above the truth, I ask of God, am I with you? I walk the path, go to the light, but still I feel that.
Billion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. You're now tuned in with me. My name is Chandler Crump, and this is our twice weekly daytime show where we cover the news, entertainment, politics, you name it. We do it here on the Chandler Brief, where the dress code is, of course, business casual. I am, however, lacking my tie today because we have some special attire sent to us by our friends over at Parlor with my tag on it, which I thought was really cool, so had to show this off on the live show today. So that explains the lack of a tie, but it sadly does not explain the lack of sense coming from some various lame duck representatives in Congress right now who will not be there much longer. Yes, we are talking about Liz Cheney. She is, of course, in the news today. You clicked on this stream and you saw the title, Loser Liz for President.
Nope.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, that's not a lie. She does indeed appear to be having thoughts about running for president. We're going to check all of that out, plus much more stuff, some hilarious memes, some stuff about the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed into law yesterday, raising the corporate tax rate, among other IRS-related enhancements to the federal government. All of that and more on today's show. But before we get there, I do have to ask you guys to smash that like button. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our people watching us here on YouTube, Rumble, Getter, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and I'm sure there's always one I'm always forgetting. I say it probably one time and then I'll forget to say another platform. But anyway, shout out to all you folks. What's going on? Aaron Behringer and Apocalyptic. Aaron says it's brief times, which is good. Not belief, brief. And aside from all that, I think it's about time we jump on into the show for today. And yes, Apocalyptic says she has no chance of getting elected as a primary anyways. So true, so true. Anyways, let's hear it first from the horse's mouth itself, and then we'll delve in. And I know horse probably isn't Liz Cheney's pronouns, but it fit my little thing there. So let's hear it.
The former president said last night you're now headed to political oblivion. You said this fight is just beginning. You've even launched a political organization already. So let's just be straight about it. Are you considering running for president yourself?
Yep.
Well, what I'm going to do, Savannah, is spend the next several months completing my work in Congress, obviously completing my work representing the people of Wyoming. We have a tremendous amount of work left to do on the January 6th committee. And also, though, I'm going to be making sure that people all around this country understand the stakes of what we're facing, understand the extent to which we've now got one major political party, my party, which has really become a cult of personality. And we've got to get this party back to a place where we're embracing the values and the principles on which it was founded, and talking about, you know, fundamental issues of civics, fundamental issues of what does it mean to be a constitutional republic.
But Congresswoman, you didn't answer me yes or no.
It takes
yeah,
to
I know
keep
that
Donald Trump. I will be doing.
She is so bad. She is terrible. So bad that even this person had to be here to listen. You didn't answer my question.
Whatever it takes to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office.
Well, I know you didn't say yes or no, and that's fine if you're thinking about it, but are you thinking about it? Are you thinking about running for president?
That's a decision that I'm.
I don't know what I said.
I don't remember. She doesn't even know what she's thinking.
Going to make in the coming months, Savannah. I'm not going to make any announcements here this morning, but it is something that I'm thinking about, and I'll make a decision in the coming months.
Let me tell you here, from every single American with a brain, we're going to tell you right now.
It's no use!
Don't even do it.
What are we talking about?
No.
We don't want you. Get up out of here. You lost your primary, and we're going to pull up the numbers soon, by well over thousands upon thousands of votes. And in Wyoming terms, that is a landslide. In Wyoming terms, she's just straight up L.
Go, you know the thing.
They said, nope. Pack your bags, get up out of here. We don't want you anymore. We are truly the
Ultra MAGA.
And for poor old Liz Cheney, it's over. You're done. Hip Hop Thinker says Abraham Cheney. Apocalyptic says, I don't understand how she I don't like when did we start telling candidates we don't want you anymore, and they'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna run for president. This happened with who did it? It happened with Bill de Blasio, though he didn't lose yet, and I think he was term limited. He had some terrible, like, New Yorkers in the streets were like, get Bill de Blasio out of here. That happened with him. But then, even more explicitly true, we had Beto O'Rourke, who has not only lost the Senate run, and he already lost a gubernatorial run in 2020 something already. No, that's the other way around. He's running for governor this first time, and he's gonna lose. But he ran for Senate, lost, and he's like, I'm so great, I'm gonna run for president. And he made it nowhere. I think the only person who dropped out before him, other than some minor candidates, were like Kamala Harris. Like, he didn't make it far at all. He wasn't up there with the big dogs like Biden. And what was her name? She was the old lady who sounded a lot like this and looked like a school teacher. She wasn't Klobuchar. Elizabeth Warren, yes, and then Bernie Sanders. Those were kind of like the big three we had up there. He didn't make it anywhere near there. These candidates needs to realize that if you lose out, and you may make it past your primary, but you lose the general election like Beto O'Rourke did in Senate against Ted Cruz in 2018, we don't want you. Nope. We don't want you, so step up out the way. Now, Liz Cheney, you were a House representative from Wyoming. That's not a major thing, but hey, you were there for a little while, and you lost your primary. You didn't go up there and lose the general. If you lost the general, that would be a much bigger thing, considering Wyoming is so red. If you lost to a Democrat, that means Republicans were like, screw this, we would rather have a Democrat than Liz Cheney. That would be an even bigger statement, and she'd probably still be dumb out of Sam's considering running for president. But she lost her primary in a Republican state, so she lost, and now she's saying, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to keep Trump out of office, and if that means running for president, well, I won't make any announcements right now, but we'll see. These people need to start thinking. They need to start thinking. Dagny says she thinks she is still something because her kind always has been. They cannot understand what is happening. Aaron says, living L Liz. That's triple L time. Living L Liz. All of those are L's for her. But anyways, let's jump in to some articles. It says, what will it mean for Trump and Biden if Liz Cheney runs in 2024? Good question by The Guardian. Let's check this out. Let's see what they think. Oh. This did not have a paywall over it before. Okay, I guess we won't figure out what they think, but we do have Fox News, and they don't have a thing over me. But they say strategists suggest it's highly doubtful Liz Cheney could win the White House in 2024. Congratulations, The Guardian. You lost out on me reading this to the few people who are watching this, so congratulations. You lost right there. Strategists doubt that Representative Liz Cheney from Wyoming, who lost her primary election on Tuesday night to a challenger endorsed by former President Trump, has what it takes to garner the GOP nomination should she run for president, while seemingly dismissing the idea that her plans for 2024 could possibly upend Trump's chances of gaining back the White House. During an appearance on NBC's Today Show on Wednesday morning, Cheney said she will do whatever it takes to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, insisting that she is thinking about a run for the presidency and will make a decision in the coming months. Political strategists from both sides of the aisle are at odds over how Cheney's involvement in the 2024 race could impact Trump's chances should he officially declare his candidacy for president in that election. Representative Cheney actually could have won Wyoming had she run for the people of Wyoming rather than against DJT. Against candidates don't win, said Boyd Matheson, host of Inside Sources for KSL News Radio and former chief of staff to Senator Mike Lee of Utah. If Cheney runs for president, she will be a non-factor if she continues by running a backward-facing, fighting the last war, battle against DJT kind of campaign. Presidential politics is never about what was or even what is, but about what is next. And I think he makes a fantastic point there. Simply running for president to be opposed to Trump when Trump isn't even who's in office isn't as great of a campaign strategy. Now, it may have worked for Biden, and I put that in heavy quotes, worked for Biden. That was only because Trump was currently in office. There was a pandemic. There was all these sorts of things that were dredged up out of nowhere in 2020 that caused people to be like, okay, well, maybe some regime change could be nice. And even to that point, I still put some heavy quotes around that, and y'all know why. But even ignoring all of that, 2024 is not the same as 2020. Now, we're not in 2024 quite yet, so hey, maybe the whole world will go to heck again and everything everything goes wrong, and people are like, well, everything's gone wrong, and I'm sick, I'm sneezing, but I think I'll vote for Biden anyways. If that happens, I don't know what to tell you guys anyway. I don't think any of us would have brains if that sort of thing actually happened in 2024. But if none of that madness, we don't get a random pandemic and racial rioting and some interesting voting counts in various states in 2024, which I'm sure the latter will more than likely happen. But if we don't have any of those two previous things, it won't be the same to run for president. Now, it might be similar for Biden because, hey, he's the choice we all know will defeat Trump and he can defeat the powerhouse. But would that work for Liz Cheney before the general even comes along in the primaries?
Nope.
I don't know, folks. I think most of us can look at it and say it's very unlikely anything good like that would happen for Liz Cheney. But anyways, it's time we finally move along. But before we do that, you guys have to see some of these hilarious memes. Now, I don't know who this guy is. I can assume he's a CNN host. I don't watch that network very often. I don't recognize his face. But here's Indiana Jones performing a quick swap of a Liz Cheney. Because she's obviously going to be another CNN talking head very soon. Give it a year, maybe two. Happened with Andrew Yang right after the 2020 presidential election, and it'll probably happen with her as well. I'm excited to see it. And then also this one, which I think is fantastic. This is the hit list. It truly is. Republicans who voted to impeach President Trump. Each and every one. And for all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are already down, and the remaining 2 adding up to 10 left to go. Now, I assume Washington and California have not had their primaries yet, although I think Washington did have theirs, and Daniel Newhouse might have won his gulag, but maybe we'll have to see what happens. But there's only 2 remaining that have actually voted to impeach Trump, so I think it's gonna be great. And if there already have happened, that's still an 80% success rate, which is already passing. That's a B in my book. So, hey, I don't know. Could be very interesting to see. We've got plenty more stories where that came from. The Inflation Reduction Act has been signed into law, and there is a new minimum corporate tax rate that might do something to the economy. We're going to read about all of that and more soon, right after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these quick messages from our sponsor.
Hey freethinkers, Chandler here. Have you ever worried for you and your loved one's data being taken online, like your social security number or bank information? Well, it's not an irrational fear. It's all totally possible. But I'm here to tell you there's a solution to that problem. The solution? It's called DataSeal.io. For one monthly or annual plan for you or even your household, you can have DataSeal systematically scan and remove your information from the internet. So if you're interested, hit the link in the description or go to DataSeal.io and use code CRUMP, that is code CRUMP, at checkout for a discount on your subscription. Now, let's get back to the show.
I wouldn't talk about this one so heavily if I didn't at least slightly believe in the project and the product, I should say. Go to dataseal.io and sign up, all that. It'll perform a scan based off of your email address and other information, and they will go through the internet and delete it off of wherever they can find it. So if you don't like being able to see your name on the white pages, you just look up, let's say your name is Phil Richardson, something like that. If there's a Phil Richardson watching this, I'm sorry, I'm doxing you indirectly. No, I'm kidding. But anyways, if you look up that name, you might actually find something, and they may be able to zero you down even to your address. So if you want to escape people being able to potentially dox you just off your name, then go to dataseal.io and use code CRUMP at sign up to gain access to another layer of defense for your data online. For just $13 a month, and with our discount even less a month, you will be able to secure yourself and your family and whoever else lives at your address, pets, dogs, cats, whatever it may be, from anybody online who may not have the best ideas in mind for you and your home. So make sure you go to dataseal.io and use code CRUMP to defend yourself today, because what's better than having to defend yourself with that Second Amendment? Well, making it so that nobody even knows where you are in the first place. I think that's a pretty good idea. So make sure you check it out in the description below. Anyways, it's time we jump into this next story. The Inflation Reduction Act has now been signed into law, and it has brought the minimum corporate tax rate up to 15%, which means that any company over a certain level, which we're going to read today, will have to be taxed 15%. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff right there. After more than a year over debate of costs, taxes, tax credits, and etc., President Joe Biden finally signed his sweeping tax, health, and climate bill into law. I don't know. Yeah, even it says right here, albeit a significantly reduced version of the $1.75 trillion Build Back Better plan he was pushing last year. but it's called the Inflation Reduction Act. This doesn't make any sense.
What are we talking about?
It says cap. Whatever. The president signed the newly renamed Inflation Reduction Act into law, flanked by Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin, as well as a few others. With this law, the American people won, and the special interests lost, Biden said in remarks before he signed the bill. The new law includes a $369 billion investment in climate and energy policies, $64 billion to extend a policy under the Affordable Care Act to reduce healthcare costs, and a 15% corporate minimum tax aimed at companies that earn more than $1 billion a year. The $437 billion spending package is expected to raise $737 billion in revenue over the next decade, the biggest share coming from reductions in drug prices for Medicare recipients and tax hikes on corporations. And once again, that is
Billions.
with a big fat B.
Billions.
Some madness right there. Roughly $124
Billions.
is expected to come from increased IRS enforcement, meaning tougher and more frequent audits for, quote unquote, the wealthy. It's projected to reduce the deficit by more than $300
Billions.
over a decade, supposedly, and projected. But pieces of this plan are already starting to fall apart, as Inflation Reduction Act, although it is doing nothing for inflation, is only going to be curbing what we've already seen. And that doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense, but let's read into one of these parts right here. It says a lot of it is about renewable energy, electric cars. We read about it yesterday that certain electric car manufacturers like Ford and General Motors are already proportionally raising the prices of their vehicles to match the Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah, that's a big L right there.
Yep.
They take it like, oh, you're dumping a few billions into that? How about we just gobble that up
Billions.
and raise the prices of our cars from 6,000, some of them up exactly by 75,000, which was the car electric stipend, and some of them even more than that. So that basically they're gobbling up that extra money that the government is supposedly indirectly giving to the people by supposedly giving you a stipend on when you purchase this car. Now they're just going to raise the price on you. And though they could say, and it is truthful, they could say, well, it's because of inflation and the supply chain and things just costing more now than they did before. Which is true. But hey, if the government were saying, hey, $7,500 to each single car you sell to each person, don't pass the price along to yourself, though, I'd be like, well, it doesn't look like in the legislation there's anything stopping me from passing it along to myself. So, hey, I'll take that extra $7,500. That'll keep me running for another month or 2 or 30, depending on how many cars I sell. And if the government and all these people are talking about how crazy things are right now and how we need a green transition, and I mean, if you can look at some of these gas prices we have right here on these shirts, you can understand why people are like, dang, I don't want to spend, what is that? $9.99 on gas prices. I'm gonna just get an electric car instead. And I'd say Ford and General Motors are gonna be rubbing their hands together, being like, let's eat up that money. Because yes, although the gas prices in most places didn't ever get up to $9 a gallon, they got dang close. And hey, it can be argued with inflation plus the rise in gas prices, we got even closer than you could have ever imagined. So if you want to get shirts like this one that advertise just how crazy things got, make sure you check out our merch store in the description. Support me. I'm going to be entering the car market very soon, so you want to increase my ability to avoid getting an electric car, or maybe you have to bite the bullet and get one with how crazy things are right now. Definitely make sure you go to our merch store and get something below. But either way, this is seriously how crazy things have gotten. Meanwhile, the Inflation Reduction Act is supposed to help us, but I don't know. To get a deal done, Biden had to give up some of his favorite pieces of his original Build Back Better bill, including universal child care and tax cuts for the middle class. Manchin, a conservative Democrat, was also a late Democrat holdout until he and Schumer stuck a deal moving the bill forward earlier this month. I don't know about tax cuts for the middle class. I don't believe it. Freshman Senator Kyrsten Sinema held up a passage in the openly divided Senate at the last minute over a provision that would have closed the so-called carried interest loophole that allows private equity managers and hedge fund executives to pay significantly lower tax rates than most taxpayers. While introducing the president, Schumer thanked Manchin along with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the White House staff who gave it their all finishing this bill. The bill narrowly passed the U.S. Senate 51-50 on August 7th with no Republican votes. Vice President Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote, giving Democrats a win. Isn't it funny? I don't know if I'm the only person who remembers in 2020 when Joe Biden was campaigning says he'll be a president for not just blue states and Democrats, but also for red states and Republicans and even some of those dirty
MAGA.
Trumpsters that are residing in those hillbilly flyover states, as Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden not so not so respectfully referred to all of us as. It's just true. But they're narrowly passing these bills with 51 to 50, every single Republican senator from every single state that has 1 or 2 Republican senators. Your voice doesn't matter. You thought you had a voice? Let me give you a big fat nope on that one. This is the New World Order. You don't have control, so why don't you go ahead and shut yourself down. Don't think about anything. Don't even ask.
What are we talking about?
Just sit back, relax, as the new FBI and IRS agents go ahead and FBI, open up! At your door, because you decided to open up a lemonade stand so that you could afford gas this week to take your child to daycare, which, oops, also costs 20 times as much as it did 2 years ago. The figures aren't accurate, but the notion and feeling of it is. People are paying now more than what they had ever before. And it is only getting worse as these so-called leaders and people who are supposed to make everything better and build back better are passing their $1 billion Inflation Reduction Act to save America. Meanwhile, things are getting worse and worse as they do nothing but eat their chocolate chip and talk about how proud they are to stand for their pronouns and how proud they are to endorse the Child Protective Service agents that are telling your 14-year-old estranged daughter who was brainwashed at their school with books about how you need to embrace 36 genders, and so they left your home and are being encouraged to become a prostitute. That's a story of current modern-day America in a nutshell. Now, those things might not all connect together, but in a nightmare scenario like we're currently living through, it might just. I don't know. That's just a small piece of the puzzle. I wanted to give that to y'all. Ozzy the Builder says rock on. Dar Blanchard says Biden called it the Democratic New World Order. So very true. Apocalyptic says FBI raided Trump. Soon they will raid all of us. You know it already. FBI, open up! Apocalyptic also says build back better. It's destroying our economy. LMAO.
It's no use!
Yep. I give you a big fat yep to that one, Apocalyptic. You've been one of my favorite commenters today. He actually said something earlier, saying once I turn 30, you got to run for office or something. That's really nice. And he also says I need to make a Liz diss track, as the AOC one was one of my most fire songs. I appreciate that one. That might be a good idea right there, Liz Cheney diss track, especially if she stays in the news. Because man, I am sick and tired of that girl, Liz Cheney. Sick and tired. Ozzy says save America equals fill our pockets. Interesting right there. Man, we gotta talk about these new IRS agents though, because you guys have to see this video right here. This is something so it's not exactly the IRS quite yet. This is a mock course for people who might be interested in joining the new $87,000 or 87,000 member IRS force. You guys have to see this one. Prepare yourselves. This one it's terrible. Oh man, all right, let's go.
Congress recently appropriated funds, so the IRS is currently looking to hire more special agents or CIs nationwide.
We're looking around, starting around $60,000, $70,000, somewhere in there. And then the advancements are you'll move up, one level every year for the first few years. So.
An agent that's been in the field for a long time can top out at around $175,000 a year, as well as benefits and retirement. These aren't actual.
I gotta give a shout out to Aaron Behringer in the chat. Sorry everybody was listening, but he said that the way that one girl held the gun was like it was a mocha latte after she got her nails did. That's a really good one. Let's keep going.
Police officers, they're students posing as special agents for the IRS, arresting a man who is wanted for tax evasion.
Who are you guys? What is this?
We're the IRS. You're under arrest. You're going to jail, buddy.
Even they sound like they're thinking it's a joke.
Most people don't even know that the IRS has criminal investigators who use their accounting skills and their authority as a special IRS agent to help solve tax crimes. Under this scenario, these students find the owner of a landscaping company has several vehicles that may have been purchased from monies not reported through his business. After an undercover interview using a wireless mic, the special IRS agents find that Dodger, who is selling his business, has 2 sets of books.
You ever done any landscaping work before? Just in my front yard.
Ammunition, handcuffs, and first aid is generally what everybody wears, and then it just depends on the individual and what
this is the part where it gets good.
else they want to carry.
And no tasers.
No tasers.
Mess with.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And in the end, they're taught how to use their skills and finally arrest the mock offender.
But you want to identify, hey, police, we're here with an arrest warrant. We're going to be taking you to jail today, okay? That's what they want to know, because they're going to start asking questions like I did. Who are you? What are you doing? Why are you putting me in cuffs?
you guys have to see the other part of it as well. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I saw it earlier, but it's videos of them they're running up in there with the guns, and they're like, "FBI, where are the IRS? You're under arrest." And it's just like, dude, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? I could go on another massive rant like I did a minute ago, but I don't even feel like it anymore. Dar Blanchard says sickening. Ozzy says no non-lethals. Is that what they said? I thought I heard that, but I was like, no, I thought my ears were deceiving me. It couldn't be that one. Moon Shadow says kill first, ask questions later. I shouldn't even throw a laugh track on that one. It's not even funny. So here's the full video, and I want to see if I can find that one part where they're pulling up in like a room. I don't think I'm seeing it while I'm scrubbing through, but it's just some straight up madness. You gotta see the comments. And suddenly I feel a lot better if they came knocking. What? Defund the IRS, and the young ones will be especially enthusiastic. Count on it. You get to make your presumed political opposition kneel, and you can feel righteous about it. People have no idea where this is going to lead. They need to send those new agents to Afghanistan. There's a lot of taxpayer money over there that is not accounted for. After that, head over to Ukraine and let the U.S. taxpayer know how their money was used. Oh, I like that one right there. Yep. I agree. Send them over to Ukraine. I think that's just what we need to do. Just what we need to do. Speaking of somebody we should really send over to Ukraine, though, we gotta talk about Mike Pence, who right now is, he's rearing his ugly head once again. He says calls to defund the FBI are just as wrong as calls to defund the police. Yeah, it seems like Mike Pence doesn't care what the FBI did to his former boss. He's more interested in grandstanding for, I guess, the adults in the room, as he very proudly was at Joe Biden's inauguration. And I just gotta say, there's some interesting things coming up right after this brief break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after another quick message.
Hey freethinkers, Chandler here, and welcome to the brand new one-of-a-kind commercial break. Here on the Chandler Crump channel, we pride ourselves on straight-talking nature, adherence to facts, resistance to media programming, and a loyalty to the red, white, and blue, above all. These live shows are what I consider to be my job, and I only get paid on tips around here. So if you think I've done a good job or want to encourage me to do even better, then check out the description of this video and go to donorbox.org/support-Chandler. This is our donation processor and the one-stop shop to support all things Chandler. If you choose to, you can even have your name appear on stream to flaunt that you support our show. This is of course the illustrious Hall of Heroes bar above me. Another path to the Hall of Heroes is of course Cash App. My Cash App code is $ChandlerCR and is visible on every one of my streams. Thank you guys so much. Now, let's get back to the show.
It's about time we cut out the middleman of YouTube Super Chat. I'm not even eligible to get it. My channel has been demonetized for almost a year and a half now. I remember it. It's a long time ago. But if you want to support the channel, all those options are available down in the description below. If you've been trying to super chat or anything like that, it's not available for me over here on YouTube. So if you want to do that, that's available below. Also on Cash App right here. If you're on Rumble, which, speaking of Rumble, shout out to my people over on Rumble, Joker, Ace, Helicon, Stevie Vader, Nomad, 0036, and my folks over on Getter. If you're on Rumble, you can actually do a thing called a Rumble Rant, which is like super chat. So you can do so right there. I'll even show your messages on screen here. You just hit this button here and you can select any amount of your choosing. So let's say $20. You can select a card and say, love what you do, Chandler. Whatever it may be, you can decide over on Rumble. And also shout out to all the folks commenting on Rumble. I'll show your comments on screen here. Nomad says head pats for Chandler. Thank you, Nomad. Helicon says Chandler seems to be getting on fire. Pretty good rant right there. Yeah, it's just everything really starts to compound up and I can really just like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So shout out to my folks over on Rumble and my folks, of course, over on Getter as well. Julia White, shove your vax up your mask, says, what's up, Chan, the man? How you doing? She says, bye-bye, Liz, the nasty. So that one's a good one right there. And A. Davis as well. All my folks over there. So shout out to y'all. Really appreciate you guys. Let's keep going, though, because Mike Pence, he's back, and y'all in the chat are telling him a new one. Dar Blanchard says Pence is a traitor, insignificant and done. Moon Shadow says he's a traitor, and Dar Blanchard also, once again, says he's a traitor. And Apocalyptic, I agree with you. He says, I miss when Mike Pence was based. I do as well. Yep. He wasn't as based ever as Trump or even most other conservative figures, but he definitely was up there. He was pretty good. I heard him speak a few times, and he sounded like your good old Southern, even though he wasn't all that Southern, but he sounded like your good old Southern, get her done type of guy, so I appreciated him. Apocalypse, because every 30 days you should just keep reapplying for monetization. Who knows, you might get lucky. I would, but I actually have a community guideline strike, so I can't. But whenever that falls off, I may try again. I tried again like in 2021, and they did not accept me, so I don't know. Let's jump back in though, because Mike Pence is back, and this is some funny stuff.
Earlier today and elsewhere, I also want to remind.
He had to take a second there and just think. It's just couldn't. He had to just.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
What is up with these vice presidents and just like having lower clock rates on their mental computer? Like Kamala Harris is just like, you know, with the benefit of the passage of time, and Mike Pence just sitting there for a solid 5 seconds, like.
My fellow Republicans, we can hold the Attorney General accountable for the decision that he made without attacking the rank and file law enforcement personnel at the FBI.
Okay.
The Republican Party is the party of law and order.
Sounds like he's out of breath.
Our party stands with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line at the federal and state and local level. And these attacks on the FBI must stop. Calls to defund the FBI are just as wrong as calls to defund the police. The truth of the matter is, we need to get to the bottom of what happened. We need to let the facts play out. But more than anything else, the American people need to be reassured in the integrity of our justice system, and the very appearance of a recurrence of politics playing a role in decisions at the Justice Department demands transparency as never before. And I will continue to call on the Attorney General and the Justice Department to make that information available.
He just thinks he's so cool. I think he really does. He's sitting there like, man, I'm so epic. I sound like such a boss in the way I'm saying this. I'm putting my finger down, and I'm like, we need to demand evidence. But at the same time, dismantling the FBI it's the same as defunding the police. He's like a blue hair liberal, but in a conservative boomer body. And he really thinks he's out there, you know, he's the common sense candidate. Obviously, he's had his name thrown around quite a bit for 2024 candidates. He's kind of in the same camp as Liz Cheney. At least, like, let's say Liz Cheney is, like, right here in the middle, even though she's not. And then you've got Mike Pence right here. Or I guess the camera's inverted. So Mike Pence right here, a little bit further on the right. And then Donald Trump here. And then I guess Ron DeSantis over here or something like that. I don't know. Whatever scale you want to arrange it with. Pence, although he's not as bad as Liz Cheney, is still past the acceptable line of actual conservative. Because there's a whole lot of rhinos out there. And let's say the line is right here. And this right here is Mike Pence. He's real close on the line. I'd say he's kind of past it, in all honesty. So he's not out there. He's not making his voice heard in the right way. He's not saying his things right. He's not right enough, and he's a rhino. He's rhino. Moonshadow says, why did he turn into a rhino? I don't know. I think he got bought out, or he just sat there and said, like, you know what, the leadership of Donald Trump just isn't sending our country in the right direction. And we need a new generation of leadership, even though I think he's not all that younger than Trump. He's just not the right voice. I don't know. I really don't know. Apocalyptic says, I'm a conservative generally, but a lot of times I find myself fighting against the law and order nonsense. I even have my qualms with the police at times, although I have lots of respect for some, and as people should. People need to think about things not just so narrowly, binary, one or two, defund the police. All obviously is too far in the zero category, as in 0 cents, but saying, you know, back the blue 100%, back the blue no matter who, is kind of on the one, where it's like 100%. Nonsense. So you gotta kind of find yourself in the middle, even if it's closer to like 80%, because there are not a whole lot of bad cops out there, but we have to acknowledge that they're not all perfect. And if the FBI falls into that law and order, law enforcement category, we gotta realize they're not perfect. They're not perfect. They're doing some madness stuff right there. They're saying, FBI, open up! At the home of President Trump. You gotta realize that's some madness right there. We can't let that keep going. No. We can't.
What are we talking about?
So that's the story right there. Obviously, Mike Pence and Liz Cheney are being grouped together. Greg Price says the two have the same odds of one day becoming president. That's a good one right there. That's the truth. Julie Kelly says, lol, he got like two claps, and then there's that Jeb Bush saying, please clap. That's a good one right there. People are all about it. Oh gosh, I have not seen this. That's just sad right there. What are some other comments? Mike Pence, but Mike Pence doesn't get it. He's begging for the establishment's approval. Sad. I agree. This is all just some sad stuff right here. He's going out sad. He should have. I'm just saying, he should have did what he could have did in January of last year, and I don't care what would have happened, but that was when he lost out officially. That's when he lost everything. Anyways, we have one last story to jump into. Tony Viggins says, love your show, first time viewer. I appreciate it, Tony. One last story before we wrap up the show today, and this one is a doozy. It's what we've all been waiting for as we make ourselves to the very last story here, and it comes from the CDC. They have officially decided to tell themselves, yeah, the whole COVID-19 mess, yeah, that's on us. We kind of messed up. CDC Director Rachel Walensky says she is going to reorganize the agency after admitting that the COVID pandemic response fell short. Yeah, this is, yeah.
It's no use!
It's a little too late to say, yeah, we messed things up. Bump all that. But let's check it out anyways, and there is Rachel Walensky. CDC Director, Rochelle Walensky. I don't know where I got Rachel from. Rochelle Walensky is reorganizing the agency, saying it didn't react quickly enough during the COVID pandemic, according to an internal review of the agency's operations released on Wednesday. Walensky laid out several organizational changes the CDC will take over the coming months to correct missteps and failures that occurred during the last 2.5 years of the pandemic, according to a fact sheet. For 75 years, the CDC and public health have been preparing for COVID-19, and at our big moment, our performance did not reliably meet expectations. My goal is a new public health action-oriented culture at CDC that emphasizes accountability, collaboration, and timeliness. The central objectives for the reorganization are focused on sharing scientific data faster and making it easier for the public to understand health guidance, according to the briefing document. Walensky launched a review in April after the massive winter surge of infections from the Omicron variant upended the nation's public health response. The CDC repeatedly faced criticism during the pandemic for confusing public health recommendations and releasing data too slowly through retrospective reports that were outpaced by the rapid spread of the virus. Public health experts were often frustrated that briefings on the pandemic relied on data from other countries such as the United Kingdom and Israel. Once again, because we refused to release our own data. So it looks like the CDC is finally looking back and saying, yeah, we could have done a whole lot better, but it's too little too late. This is some stupidity. Apocalyptic says hashtag unvaccinated is trending on Twitter. It might be. Let me take a check real quick. Because I know after this whole pandemic, people are relaxing their restrictions and all that. A lot of the unvaccinated people, I should say, are sitting there like, well, here we are. It's some funny stuff. We made it through. We survived. Some people caught back the COVID-19 a whole total of 0 times. I'm one of the people that, I don't know, because I was never tested for it, so I may have caught it, may have beat it, would never know. Might have the antibodies, who knows, but I'm young and healthy, so I got past it. Some of the older people who are more susceptible to it also caught it, got past it. They're still breathing to this day. I know it affected a lot of people, and it definitely shows viruses are continuing to advance, just like other things are continuing to advance as time goes on. That's just how things work. But it was, in the end, just another virus. So that just goes to show you. The CDC, all these organizations are finally starting to look back and say, maybe we made some mistakes. Now, it doesn't look like they're saying anything about lockdowns or anything about the vaccines and boosters, so they've still got a long way to go before they're actually coming to their senses. But at the very least, they can look at themselves and say, we're not infallible, we actually can make mistakes, and here is some ways we think we can improve. But that's just the story for today with the CDC, the IRS, and maybe even your Roth IRA with these dang inflation numbers. You name it, it's going wrong in the Biden administration. But we have a little bit of hope as more and more primaries are starting to come along each and every week. Names like Liz Cheney and Jamie Herrera Butler are finally going the way of the dodo. We're getting some new America First candidates that will hopefully not turn their backs on us as soon as they get into office. That will be reflecting what we truly need in America come 2023 to put a stop to the Biden administration and their unchecked power come 2023, and hopefully put a stop to the Biden administration as a whole in 2024. But either way, we've got to keep an eye on things. What will come next? Moonshadow says, yeah, I think it's a war cry. It's going to be very exciting. But aside from all that, thank you guys so much for being tuned into today's show. Shout out to everybody who hit the like button. We're at 54 likes, which is absolutely amazing for the Chandler Brief. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in. We'll be back once again tomorrow at 8 for the last show of this week and tomorrow's edition of Crump Live. You are not going to want to miss out on it. So stay tuned for that and a whole lot more here on the YouTube channel of Chandler Crump. Also be sure to subscribe to us over on Rumble, Getter. Follow me over on Parler. Shout out to them for sending me this this super amazing shirt. I'll show you my Parler profile real quick. I have a bunch of exclusive stuff over there which you guys are not going to want to miss out on. All of it, like me lamenting over the annoying spam calls I've been getting recently, talking about some of the TV shows I've been watching, I should say, and some other cool stuff that you are not going to want to miss out on, like my travels and some of my gaming habits. So check all that out down below in the description or over on Parler. But aside from all that, I'll catch you guys again tomorrow at 8. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence. Peace out, and have a great afternoon. And don't forget to go to chandlercrump.com and pick